Hello, hello. Hang on, everybody. Give me just a moment to hit live in all the places that I'm going live. It takes me just a moment. It's working. And as you get here, make sure that you say hello and let me know that you're here. Oh, it's telling me to send something. Hold on. I don't know what. That's the first time I saw that. All right, and so now I'm going to pull this up on my phone so I can make sure that we are actually live. Here we go. Nope. Where am I at? Oh, wrong one. All right, one more second, guys. I promise. Ah. All right, hold on. All right. All right, all the cool things that you have to do to make everything work. All right, hi, we got Julie here. I think she's from your page. I think April. All right, so beautiful, beautiful. So thank you. And normally, for whatever reason, my Facebook doesn't show up on that thing. That's why I open up on my phone. So maybe something's changed, but otherwise, I'll be looking on here to see what people are saying. But I'll start off with introducing myself. My name is Vicki Poole. For those that don't know me, I'm a master transformational coach and a hypnotist. And tonight is all about my friend April Berry, because she is an amazing human to start with, and we're good friends. We've known each other for a little while, but I'm just going to share real quick. Because she's a romance author. Now, when she told me that she was writing romance books, it was like, because I've never liked romance book, never. I will say, when I was in high school, my best friend loved romance books, and she had shelf after shelf after shelf, and I would read them, but every one of them seemed like the exact same story with different names. Oh, I hated it. I couldn't stand it. So I thought, well, I'll buy her first book. I'll get it signed just to be nice. And then I read it and it was like, holy shit, April, this is good stuff. And so I don't have all of them, but I will eventually, because she just writes them and gets them out too fast for me to constantly be getting them. But like I said, this is my friend April Berry, and she goes under April D. Berry as her, what do you call it? Your
Pen name, my author
pen
name.
name. Okay, okay. So we'll let her talk a little bit about her book, but she has a lot of different books. But this is a new one that's part of a series. Am I remembering right?
Yep.
All right. So kind of tell us a little bit about it, because I don't really know much about this particular one yet, because she's been kind of keeping it from me. And so we'll dive in. I can't wait.
So the book that I have coming out tomorrow is book 3 of a series. It's not inverted, so I'm sorry, but this is
No, I can see it fine.
okay, great. So this is Jackal. And again, this is book 3. So it is part of a series, and we call this a dynamic series, meaning that you really need to read all of the books in order. Uh,
Okay.
there's a different couple in each story, but there's an overarching plot that goes through the whole series, and you'll be lost and then upset with me if you don't know what's happening. So,
Well, we'll tell them exactly how to get all of them,
yep.
right? Yeah. Okay.
Um, and just in case anybody is taking notes, book 1 is Falcon.
Mm.
There's Mr.
And
Falcon.
Falcon looks quite nice there.
Yeah, we like Falcon. He's
Okay.
Booty Pants. And then and then this is Eagle. This is book 2
Yeah.
of the series. But yeah, so book 3 actually comes out tomorrow.
Yay.
This is a typical like motorcycle club romance. It's think like Sons of Anarchy meets romance books.
Ooh.
So there's a lot of club stuff that's happening. There's like this huge conspiracy. There's an assassination that's going on that they're trying to basically figure out who the bad guy is through all of these books. And every time you think you got it figured out, then something else happens. And then you realize there's another bad guy. So there's a lot of like twists and turns, and then betrayals galore, which, that's MC clubs are very big on like family and loyalty. So it's kind of this unheard of thing to have somebody betrayed them so badly. So the club president is assassinated in the first chapter of the first book, so it's kind of a big deal. And so they're trying to figure that out the whole time. Obviously, when the president goes down, there's got to be a shift in some of the
hierarchy.
Right. So they, end up with a new president, and they move the ranks around a little bit. And then just as the series goes, you end up meeting these women. And this one is, I've seen a lot of other series do this. So like I didn't, reinvent the wheel. But I love when the main female characters are not necessarily always part of the club. Anytime you've read or watched any kind of motorcycle books, there's always the girls that kind of hang around the club all the time. So, those girls are used to the lifestyle. They understand what's happening. And for lack of a better term, it's a bit of a patriarchy. So, and then you have my female characters who are like, yeah, we don't dig that. And they don't understand why it's such a big deal. One of them smarts off to the president, and everybody's like, oh my God, but because they're like, I'm not from here. I don't understand any of this. I don't understand. You guys are ridiculous, So it's like this weird dynamic where the guys are, completely smushy and falling for these women, but at the same time, they're trying to like honor their club brothers, and they got all this stuff going on. They're trying to keep these women out of trouble at the same time, because again, they don't understand that this is also dangerous. And so it's like this where it's almost like babysit. I swear the man who ends up becoming the new president, you can just kind of see him in the corner all the time, like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do with all these people? So, and there is a lot of suspense. It is more like a gray. It's not a dark book for sure, because I just don't write very dark things, but there's a lot of like darker themes in this book. There's also a trafficking ring that they're trying to bust up,
okay,
and bring down. So that starts off right in the first book as well. I don't talk openly about so much stuff, but Vicky knows that like I have a sweet spot for victims of domestic violence and any kind of crimes against women as a whole. So it made perfect sense to me to incorporate something about something against women. So there's a trafficking ring that they're going to try to bring down. So even though my guys are morally gray, they're obviously into some illegal stuff. They are big on no harming women, no harming children. So they want to take these dudes down. And that's one of their like super redeemable qualities,
Yeah.
And
well, really quick, hold that thought just a second. So can you see the chat at all?
I can't see the chat.
Okay. So let me just fill you in a little bit. So we've got some people watching on Facebook. So you guys on Facebook, please, if you have some questions or you want to just say hello to us, just make sure you do. So Julie LaFrance.
Yeah.
All right. She has just said April. And then Robin Lynch has been adding a little bit here and there. She says it's not dark, but it has grit. And she says these women stand up for themselves for sure. And the Motorcycle Club series has been amazing. I love the couples and the running mystery storyline. And she's excited that Jackal is in paperback.
Yep.
Yeah. So one of the things, well, go ahead and finish what you were saying. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, you got squirrel, so now we don't know.
I just all of a sudden I thought, well, obviously she's not saying anything, so she can't see that. And I just wanted to let you know that they are there and chatting with you. And I'm going to check real quick and see
I'll
what's
go back after this and go back through comments because it'll still be saved on my Facebook page. So if I
Oh,
miss,
okay. Because I
I'll
know
go back to
it doesn't save in the chat here. So that's why I usually try to say something to make sure.
if you see anything, definitely just pipe in because I can't
Okay.
see it. And if we miss any, I will go back and answer them later for sure.
Okay. Well, Wendy on my Facebook page, she is in the Caribbean right now on a cruise. And so thank you, Wendy, for showing up here. April is an amazing writer, and you're definitely going to have to check out her books when you get home, I imagine. Of course, you can order them on Amazon, I'm pretty sure. So you can order them anytime, have them ready for you when you get home.
Yeah, if as long as you can hook up to Wi-Fi, you can download them straight.
That's right. That's right.
If you like paperback, though, yeah, you'll have to wait until you get back.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You can do Kindle and have them right away and read them when you're on got free time on the ship.
Yeah. They're on Kindle Unlimited. Well, at least
All
books
right.
are on Kindle Unlimited. So if you're a KU reader, you can catch up on the series if you haven't read it already. But Jackal will be out tomorrow for those of you who have already read book 1 and 2. So I say tomorrow, it's like 4 hours away, and this is my like 16th book under this.
I know you got a lot of them out there.
And it never gets easier. It doesn't. I've been a basket case all day.
I know. It seems like it'd be just almost like when you're somebody that is an actor or a singer that steps out on the stage and then they get all the butterflies and everything. And we've got another person, Rachel Overcash, has popped in. She says, we love April. Yes. And
friends and readers for sure.
Yes. So and Rose Holbert is watching.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You guys from that are popping in on Facebook, thank you so much for supporting April in that way, because like I said, we're good friends and I want to do anything to help support her, and so that's why we're here today. But I want to ask you real quick, and some people, it's always something that I want to know is like, you've got these 3 books, right, for the Motorcycle Club, and you're not a motorcycle person. No. So what kind of research did you have to do to get in touch with these characters in your mind? And the reason I'm asking this is I think you know that I'm writing that apocalyptic book and I'm really getting into it. So these characters awaken me up at night with ideas and things that are happening. And I don't know crap about the apocalyptic event that's happening. So I have to do a little research to make sure I'm being accurate in things. So what did you have to do to get these characters to come to life?
Well, I mean, I've been reading Motorcycle Club books for a while. I love.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I really like MC romance because like you got the romance aspect, and then you got like, some suspense and mystery usually. And then of course, like it's the possessive men, and Big Al always tries to pretend like he's not, but he's possessive. So I dig that. And I am too, though, to be fair, I am. And like when we went to these book events together, I was like, don't touch him, you guys. Like, you can look at him, but please don't touch him. You'll see a new side of me come out. But I've been reading them for a while. And also, I sit on the sofa and like I'll be writing and Alan's watching television and he watches a lot of dude movies and that kind of thing. So I just didn't ever delve into it before. I've done, my contemporary small town, the rom-coms. I have dabbled with paranormal. And then I have a low fantasy book out there. So like just a little bit of everything because I read a lot of different genres. So I've always wanted to write a bunch of different things. And honestly, though, like I had to get to a point before I wrote like my wolf book, and especially so that one and these, I really had to be willing to push myself a little bit, like push my own boundaries, but also give myself permission to try something different because I had wanted to do these a little bit more plot heavy books for a while. I love my character driven books and I still write very character driven stories, But adding all of that plot was kind of scary to me because I didn't think I had the chops for it, basically. And you have, just so everybody knows, Vicki has hypnotized me probably, it was every week for like a year and a half, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's a lot of times. And I also kept recordings until I got a new phone and they went bye-bye. And part of the process that she was trying to help me with was things like that with, my confidence in myself and pushing my boundaries, but, only doing so when it was going to benefit me, not pushing my boundaries to let people walk all over me. So, and I've talked a little bit about how I have a lot of anxiety, and she really helped me work through a lot of that. So it was like this combination of really like leaning into my own strengths and learning how to not hold myself back from something just because I was scared to try. Because, you don't know until you give it a shot. And the thing about writing books is, there's editing for a reason. Everybody has to go through the editing process. So even if your story's not that strong to begin with, you can fix it. It's not like there's no rule anywhere that you have to publish a book as soon as it's finished, So I just kind of had to get over myself a little bit and finally push past that a little bit and do a little bit more of the action and suspense. And I'm really glad that I did. I was really proud of how Blood of the Daughter turned out. And so then when I started into these, I just really fell in love with the story and the way that the plot was unfolding and these characters. And yeah, I understand completely about the characters being loud. Like, I think I've talked to you about that before, like how the characters are so loud. And sometimes authors and readers, or other authors and readers, don't understand that because some people don't have the movies that play in their head, and then and nobody's ever been harassed by an imaginary person. And that's exactly what it is. And I mean, you remember when I wrote Love Again, I told you I was having a block writing a different book because I was like, I got to write the second book of this series because that's what you do. But man, these weird people just showed up and I don't know what's happening and they won't leave me alone. And I swear I feel like I'm going crazy. And you and Vicki was the one who was like, why do you have to do this book? Why can't you do this book? Do you have like a deadline or something? And I was like, well, no, but everybody says you're supposed to keep going in your series. And she was like, yeah, well, if they're keeping you up at night, maybe you should just try writing it down and see what happens. And I ended up writing Love Again, which turned out to be one of my fan favorites, in 3 weeks. And it's not that short. I mean, it's a shorter book, but it's not that short. So now I didn't have it like completely edited. I just wrote the first draft in 3 weeks, but they really were like to the point where I felt like I was losing my mind because they were so loud that I just sat and wrote every free moment I had. And the housework was crap and dinner wasn't great for that 3 weeks. It was like there was nothing else. It was like laser focused tunnel vision on this book. So what I would suggest to you is if they're stalking you at nighttime, you need to start writing things down.
Yeah.
See how that works out for you. Because I know you've mentioned that you've been plotting a ton, and I don't plot.
Yeah.
I have outlines. I got nothing. I sit down and start writing.
Well, I had to have an outline because this person that asked me to write this book, there's a catastrophe that happens in the world and it starts on a certain date. And then these different things happen on different dates. And so I had to make sure that I stayed inside those guidelines. So I had to have something, and then really screwy things happened because I typed up a bunch of stuff, and then I had a whole bunch of index cards. Then I started doing these Zoom meetings with myself to just go through and say things. And then I would wake up in the middle of the night with these things popping in my head, and I'd have to write them all down. And I couldn't get any of it ordered. And, I had certain characters there. So I ended up putting all of that information into chat. And I said, just break down these characters for me. I am losing my mind trying to keep track of them. So Chat gave me a list of all the characters. I was able to put down what they looked like. And that has been a game changer for me because I was finding that I was writing things, then I was changing the characters, interchanging them sometimes with some of the activities that they did and ideas that they had. And so I had to have something, just way my brain works, I guess. I had to have something that was written down so I could say, okay, let me make sure this person, do they have a harmonica or is it this person over here? You know, it was just weird.
They do. I mean, some people do a book Bible. And like I'm doing a book that the one that I'm working on now. I had to take a break in my series because I'm doing a shared world with somebody. And we have what they call a series Bible. And that's because it's a shared world and there can't be like duplicate names and you kind of have to know what's going on with some of the other clubs and stuff. I still don't plot now, but again, I go back and I have to edit. But I would say, just throwing it out there because some of my people are watching, I am very anti-AI and ChatGPT, and I do not get along. I don't use it. I won't download it. There's so many other tools out there for authors that can keep your thoughts like that organized. And they're either free or super affordable too. So
okay, well, you'll have to tell me about them. And I will say, I have told many people about your book that you recommended to me when I was first starting to write The Emotion Thesaurus.
I love that book.
So I have it sitting here in this little box right beside me because I'm constantly pulling it out.
Yeah, mine is so beat up because Alan actually bought it for me a while ago because I had written one of the books and I kept seeing that book as like being a really good resource guide for authors. To help with the showing, not telling, and really like connecting the emotions of the characters. And I swear, so when people say to me like that they really laughed hard or they cried or something, like I'm like, that is my emotional thesaurus, 100%, because I flip through that thing and I still go to it a lot. And every once in a while, like I'll stop using it and I find that I'm using a lot of the same like facial things and like the same ticks and stuff. So like every once in a while I'm like, okay, I need to stop with that, like the brow furrowing, and I need to get my book back out. But I mean, you still like the more you write, the more comfortable you get with those kind of things anyway. But like the like all of the things that I've ever had to do with a group project, we just have like a huge like Google form that has stuff everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And a bunch of my friends, they'll order because there's actually like even journals if you're a paper person. Because I like to hold things. That's why the Emotional Thesaurus, I have the actual like paperback copy of it. You can just download the ebook. It's obviously a lot cheaper to do the ebook.
Here she is.
But something about being able to just like flip to it.
Mm-hmm.
I have to have that in my hands. Now, I read a ton of ebooks, but for something like that, I really needed to have it in my hands. So, you know, kudos to my husband for getting me that because I put it in our Amazon cart and he was like, babe, just buy these kind of things. My God, what are you doing?
There's a couple of them more than the emotion.
There's a ton of them.
There's
been like an emotional wound thesaurus, which you would probably really get into.
Okay.
You know, your background. But that way, for people, especially who do plot, or at least some people call themselves planters, which means that they plan a little bit, but they don't really do like a big full outline. And then they kind of sit down and write and just see what happens. But they will plan things like they'll try to get to know their characters up front and things like dates. They'll write down like, okay, this is when we're starting, or this is the season or whatever. And I want it to end here. And they'll write down things about their character. So, you know, their name, what they look like, the eye color, what's their favorite smell or perfume or whatever. And the thing is I always envy people who are organized to do these things because I still don't have a series Bible. And now I'm starting to get into the fourth book of this series. And it starts to get really confusing when you have a whole motorcycle club full of dudes. And then you have these women that you're introducing. And then you have the club bunnies. And so there's like a ton of people everywhere. And you're like, wait, what I even thank God for my editor because in the last book, I changed one of the dude's hair colors. She was like, didn't he have blonde hair in the first 2 books? And I was like, did he? And so I went back to my old manuscripts and I was like, well, dang. I was like, I feel bad. I'm like pooping all over this guy. I can't even remember what he looks like, you know? So,
well, one of the things that I had happened to me recently writing the book was I was going in and I had 18 chapters, you know, that were kind of there, but they still needed some filler stuff, right? So I go back and I'm in chapter 4 and I'm putting in this filler stuff. And then I think, well, this is really good. Well, when I get to chapter 5 or 6, the same kind of thing happened. And it's like, well, no wonder it sounded good. I'd already written it in this other chapter. And now what do I do? So it was like, but this is my first time to really write a book, that fictional book like this. So you're a pro at it. And so I'm sure you don't.
I'm not a pro for sure, but I try really hard not to self-edit as I go, because every time I do, that same thing happens. Like I'll go, okay.
So you just finish the whole thing and then go back?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because if I stop, sometimes I will read the last chapter just to catch up, because between work and, you know, especially when little Al was still doing marching band and everything, chorus, like this last month has kind of been a blur. So the book I'm working on right now, I have found myself having to go back to the last chapter because there might be a couple of days in between writing. Like I didn't get any writing done today. So when I get to it, we have a family reunion this weekend and a million other things going on. So by the time I actually look at it again, it's probably going to be like 4 or 5 days. So I'm going to go back to the last chapter. But the times that I'm like, you know what, I just need a refresh and I'm just going to start from the beginning, I always find that I do that. I will be like, ooh, I should say this. So I add in a little something and then I keep reading, and literally not even into the next chapter, I have already said that. And I'm like, okay, well, obviously I knew that around the first time. I just didn't put it in this spot. So then I have to figure out, where do I want to keep it? So the self-editing as I go slows me down. Now, and the one thing I always try to tell new authors is, you really have to find a process that works for you. So just because I don't like to self-edit as I go doesn't mean that it's not right for you. It's just like, I tried outlining and plotting my first book and I almost quit because I could not stick to that outline. And, you know, when you're in school,
I didn't say I stick to anything. I stick to the dates, but that's because I have to. But the other stuff, it's like, it's up for grabs, you know, but I have a plan, and that kind of gives me at least a lane of a road to go on.
You're a planter then. Like I know a lot of people who will do an outline, but then it just goes off the rails. But it was like a completely different story. And I felt terrible because I was like, seriously, I was thinking back to all of the teachers I ever had in school that were like, you have to do an outline and you have to stick to the story and you have your beginning, middle, and end and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, obviously I'm not meant to do this, you know? So, but I'm also petty, even with my own self. So I was like, no, I'm not quitting. So I just was like, I'm just going to keep writing whatever this has turned into and see what happens.
I'm so glad you didn't quit, because it has been a gift. But I'm going to just catch you up a little bit on what's happening over here.
Okay.
Let's see. Robin says, shout out to Big Al. And she also says she's so happy that you stretch to try new things. You have amazing stories to share with the world. And Julie says, yes, believing in yourself is one of the many keys to success, and word vomit, first draft, then edit.
Yep.
And then we've got Kimmy has arrived onto the Facebook group. Thank you so much for being here, Kimmy. And let me check over here, make sure I'm not ignoring anybody. All right. So I love that you have a totally different process, and that's okay. But it's like, when I sat down to do this, you know, it felt really weird because I had done that little compilation book a long time ago. You know, I did a chapter, but all I was doing was telling something that was true. I wasn't making anything up.
Yep.
So this feels very different, to be it just being birthed out. And so what keeps happening to me is, I'm writing this apocalyptic novel is a little bit different than what the actual publisher I think is asking for, because I'm coming from me. So who knows if they'll accept it or not? And if not, I'm just going to change the name and put it out there anyway. But but I was getting, I was having so much fun. I started understanding when you were talking about you were just, you were in the zone, and you were writing and writing and writing, because I was in here on the computer and I was writing, and I didn't even stop to go eat, and I was writing and I was writing. I went to the bathroom and I was writing and I was writing, and and it was like I was losing total time of everything, and it just became this obsession. So for about a week I was writing every day. So now I'm going back in and trying to tweak the chapters, because what keeps happening to me, and maybe you can help me with this, is that I'll look at what I think is I've written what I wanted to write in that chapter, but when I look at it on the page, it's like, what is this going to be? One page chapter? What is this? How is that possible? So I think I got to feed stuff in here.
My books, because so I have this running joke with my narrator. It's chapter roulette, because she narrates my books. Like, if she says to herself without looking ahead, she'll do the thing where she's been recording for hours, and she'll be like, you know what, I'm going to do one more. And she was like, it never fails. If I say just one more chapter and I don't actually look at the chapter length, it'll be one of your chapters that's like 20 pages long. And she's like, shit. So, and I do. And I mean, I don't recommend that necessarily to anybody. There's a lot of readers who love consistent chapter lengths. I write a chapter the same way I write a book until it feels finished.
Yeah, yeah. So is there anything wrong? Do you have any of your books? And I'm trying to think back to the ones that I've read, and I've read quite a few of them, but do you have any that have a chapter that's just one page?
Yeah, I think I do.
Okay, well, I won't feel so bad then, because I swear.
MC series, and these are thicker books for me.
Yeah.
A lot of my books were like more like easy, quick reads. They weren't novellas, but they were on the shorter end of a novel. But these are like,
yeah, it looked like they were pretty thick.
These are thicker books for sure. So, but even in these, that's the thing. If I switch POVs, especially, and it's one like little interaction, but it needed to be done to move the story ahead. If it's only a page, I'm like, well, I guess that's what we're doing. So, and then I'm on to the next one.
Well, I don't feel so bad then, because I was thinking when I was doing that, I thought, I'm pretty sure April has some one-page chapters, but maybe I'm thinking wrong. It's got to have more content in there.
It is like a funny joke, and she's so cool about it, but she's like, it's so wild because you're all over the place, and I love it. I'm like, listen, man, like, that's just, it's whatever feels good, so and I think that's one of the reasons why that a lot of my readers that I have found that stuck out with me, like, they can tell I don't force things in the book, and I don't add filler just for the sake of adding words. And I'll write a 1-page chapter if that's what feels right for the story. And then if I need to, I'll do a 20-page chapter. So it's, I those longer ones, I do add a page break in there or whatever. But yeah, it's mostly just, I try to listen to what the characters are telling me and follow along with whatever they're doing. And that's why I say, even with the heavier plots that I'm doing now, it's still very character driven for me. And that's one of the reasons why I don't plot a ton, because I literally, like, I have these imaginary people that show up in my head, and they're living their life, and I'm just writing it down. So, it's whatever they're telling me needs to happen is what happens on the page. So now, and I go back and edit things, and I will say, because I don't do any planning in advance, It's not been as difficult this far into the series, but especially in book one, when I have all brand new characters, I don't really know them so much yet. Like I just met them in my head. So sometimes when I go back to do my self edits, the first few rounds, I do find myself going, oh, wait, that's weird. Or he wouldn't do that. Like by the end, I really have a better vibe with who they are as people. And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't make sense for him. So I do have to change some stuff sometimes. So I will say, if you're not a planner of any kind, you do spend a little bit more time on your self edits before you can even really start with your like basic stuff, like the, word structure or like sentence structure and things like that, because you're really like, you have to go back in and make sure, does this make sense? And obviously you're going to have a character arc. Like if your character doesn't grow somehow, the story's going to be flat, but you still have like, their quirks and traits and their personality that's going to have to make sense. When you're in like the thick of it in the story and some crap's going down, obviously a lot of people are going to act a little bit out of character, and that's totally normal, because if you're under like severe duress, like you're going to do something crazy sometimes.
Just like real people.
But, just in the overall storyline, like if he's, super chill all the time, but then you have him like randomly in the middle of the story for nothing, like, be a dick. So it's like, wait, what did he do that for? So, so that's the only thing that I do sometimes find myself having to go back and go, okay, that doesn't make sense. Or, I didn't do enough of this at the beginning. So you do end up adding a lot of words too. That's another reason why I tell people, like, unless you are working with a publisher and they've given you a word count that you absolutely have to hit, try not to focus too hard on that and just write the story. Because you're going to add some after the fact. Anyway, people are always having in their head that when they do self edits, they're going to be cutting a lot, which you do, but you usually add a lot of stuff too, because like I think Julie said at the beginning, like you word vomit that first draft out. And so it's just kind of getting those thoughts out. And when you're watching a movie in your head, if you're that kind of person, not everybody sees the movie, which I'm fascinated by people who don't, because I always have this weird commentary and like people walking around. But so I'm one of those people, like I have a vivid movie. And so like, I'm just trying to type as fast as I can, so things do get missed. So I have to go back and like add in that extra emotion sometimes, or add in that body movement and those kind of things. And then like their little quirks that I've learned as I got to know them better as we went through the story, I'll go back and like beef that part up a little bit too, so that it makes sense through the rest of the story.
Yeah. Yeah. So of all your books, and I know you've got these 3 that are your babies right now, so it's really hard to ask somebody who's their favorite child. So I don't know that you'll be able to answer this, but of all the books that you've written, do you have a favorite?
The Anam is probably still my favorite. It's my baby. I hardly ever talk about it.
There you go.
First one that I wrote. It wasn't the first one that I published.
Yeah.
Because again, I was in my own head and I wrote this whole book and I loved it so much, but I was also like, it's not good enough. It's not ready, So I ended up publishing 2 more books. Yeah, 2 more books. 2 or 3. I put a few more books out before I actually ever published that one. And then I after editing it 5 million billion times, I finally put it out. I do love the cover though.
It's pretty.
I've changed a lot of my covers over the years. I've never changed that one. I love it so much. But I love that story. You can tell though, even though I still love the story, but you can absolutely tell there's been a lot of growth in my writing. It's my same voice, but you can tell I've done this a few times now. It's not the worst writing ever. I'm not putting myself down, people. Some of my readers really get on to me sometimes, but you can just tell, like I've had my own character arc with my writing. So it's a little bit stronger now. But I still love the story. I'm not gonna like re-edit that book. It is part of a duet. I have not finished the book 2. And I mean, full disclosure, and hopefully nobody gets appalled by this and clutches their pearls, but like I do write books to make money. So
Oh, say it isn't so.
when I find some that actually sell
Oh.
better, yeah, some people are like, oh, God, it's art. And I'm like, yeah, man, but like I got a kid and about to go to college. And I have
Got some
a daughter.
bills here, man.
Like these things are so expensive, you guys. So, and like I still have a full-time job. So, like I need money. My kids bleed me dry. So, so when I find things that actually sell, in books that are interesting or at least hot for the moment, like I tend to stick with those because I mean, not for nothing, but it's nice to see that people are enjoying it. And so
Yeah.
like if it's something
Well,
that's
you also, from what I know about you, April, you don't just do it for the money.
oh
You
no.
do it for the joy of putting your thoughts on paper and developing these characters and people smiling and stopping and saying, "Hey, I loved your book." These people that are showing up here, we love April. And I mean, I love April. And so there's so much more. The money is just an amazing byproduct of all the things that you're doing. So but there is nothing wrong with people giving you money for that enjoyment. Just like when you go to Disney World, you have a hell of a time, but you still pay for it.
Yeah.
Right?
And I don't feel ashamed, but there's so many people I always see that are like, I'm not doing this for the money. And I was like, well, it must be nice. Like, I wish I had it like
I
you.
wish they were telling the truth.
But because I mean, honestly, like, and I mean, some of this I do to myself because I self-publish books. So I self-impose deadlines. Except like I sometimes if I do a group project that somebody else is running, obviously I'm working on their deadline, which that's been beneficial to me to learn how to be a little bit more disciplined as far as that because my readers are fantastic and I never really feel a lot of pressure from them, but I pressure myself because I want to continue to give them something that they can sit down with after a long work day and escape. And that's one of the reasons why I do it. I'm a recognition girl. You know me. I love to be told I'm a good girl. But I also like my lot in life that I figured out a long time ago is to make people smile and to make people feel good. Like everybody always says, "Oh my God, you're like a ray of sunshine." And I'm like, how can I bottle that up for people I don't know, And what better way than to write books that like, that's the other thing. I'm not writing books in order to get some sort of prize or, be at the top of the literary circles. I'm writing books that anybody can just seriously pick up, sit down with a cup of coffee or your favorite tea and wrap up with a blanket and just read this book and not worry about anything else for a few hours, So if I can do that and if I can help you unwind for a while and you can read that book in a weekend and you had a good time and I made you smile a few times, then my job is complete, So I am perfectly fine charging, like $5 or less for an ebook for that, because my gosh, you can't even buy a coffee for $5 anymore. So
I know.
my books aren't my ebooks are not that expensive anyway. Paperbacks obviously are a little bit higher, but even then I keep my paperbacks are priced pretty low is what my friends keep telling me. And I'm like, well, as long as I'm making a little bit, it's fine. I don't sell that many paperbacks anyway, so it's really not that big of a deal. But yeah, so that's my main objective is to just help other people smile. And it's really cool. I've always been a storyteller and my dad, obviously, he's like the ultimate storyteller. And of course it started out with like actual stories, but like, I just love the way he was always so enthusiastic with everything. And he's very animated. Like I get the jazz hands from my dad. So I love storytelling. And so it was something that I always wanted to do. I used to write a lot when I was a kid. And then I even tried to write some books when I was like in my early 20s. They were on our old computer, and we had that flood and I lost everything. Well, it was so long ago. It was like 2005, and we had the old like desktop, and so and we had floppy disks, guys. There was no cloud. Okay, so like I'm aging myself
I
greatly,
know, I know.
but we had this massive flood because a hurricane turned into a tropical storm and then kind of stalled in Georgia. And there was 4 feet of water in our little apartment. So everything that was on that computer was gone. Because of course I didn't back anything up because I was like 20 years old. Who backs up stuff? I back up I got like 6 copies of my books now.
That's right. That's right.
Lesson learned. So and that me, I'm like, that's a sign. Everything's a sign to me, you guys. So I was like, it's a sign. I'm not meant to do this. So for years, I didn't really write anything. I still read a lot. And then COVID hit, and I went on this weird, like rabbit hole. Like I got obsessed with Outlander, but I found the show first and then realized it was from a book because all the best shows are usually from books.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did a deep dive on the author, Diana Gabaldon, and discovered that she was 38 when she wrote that, no, 36 when she wrote that book. And I had this like epiphany light bulb moment. And I looked at my poor husband, who didn't know that I was even watching a video on YouTube on my computer. And I was like, babe. And he's, what? I was like, oh my God, it's not too late. And he was like, well, too late for what? And I was like, she was 30, because I made this poor man watch Outlander with me, guys.
Okay.
So yeah, so I was like, she wrote Outlander. And he was like, well, that's cool, but what does that have to do with anything? And I was like, she was 36 when she wrote it, and it's amazing. And he was like, all right. I was like, it's not too late for me, because I was like 38 then. And I was like, it's not too late. I could still do it. And he was like, you could. And I was like, I think I will. And he was like, okay, well then do it. And I was like, that's stupid. So I immediately like opened up a Word document on my laptop, because that's where I was watching the YouTube stuff. And I started writing the Anam Cara. So that's how everything started. But yeah, I don't even know how we got here, honestly.
It doesn't matter. We go where the story leads us. Let's see.
So
Julie said, you write books to bring your world to the reader looking to escape. And I see we've got more people watching on Facebook. So do you say hello to myself and to April? And if you've got any questions for April, I mean, especially if any of you guys are looking to write a book or thinking about writing a book. I mean, here we've got an author that has a good experience here behind her. According to her, she's not an expert, but I would say I differ with that. So just, go ahead and ask questions if you've got some questions to ask. But thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys over here on April's Facebook group. So we're super excited. And let me just check. All right, just making sure I'm not excluding anybody from this. And I'm looking, I am pale as hell with this lighting. What the hell have I done? I don't know.
I just fool around with mine a little bit. Honestly, I think I'm usually more white than what I look right now. So I don't know.
So I'm thinking, what did I do with I don't know. I didn't get I've got one of the big ring lights, but it's too big and it won't sit at the right place. So now I've got professional lighting, but it's like this room's too small for it, evidently.
I have my ring light. That's why I'm on my phone, because I have like a big ring light and I can put my phone right in the middle of it and it's perfect. So
yeah,
like my desk, this is also my day job desk. So I have like 3 computer screens here and a printer and just my normal like day job work mess here. So I can't bring my other laptop down here without rearranging everything. So that's why I just use my phone. And I can't stay upstairs. My poor husband, he's such a trooper. But he wants to just chill and watch TV in the evening because he works too. And so if I start yapping up there, he's just like, you can see the
Gives
side.
you the side eye thing.
He won't say anything, but I can feel it. I can feel it, you know. So,
All right. So I don't see any questions popping up. So they're just enjoying your story. So let me think. What do I want to know? Because see, I think the thing is, since I know you so well, I forget that everybody doesn't know all your stuff, right? Not that we want to tell all your stuff. But I will say, I went with April for one of her book signings and I had the most fun. And I was so disappointed when Big Al started wanting to do it because then I couldn't do it anymore. But I was blown away. I don't know. I know these guys over here from on the chat here from your Facebook, they're your readers already. So I don't know about you guys that are on mine. Do you guys read romance novels? If you feel compelled to go ahead and say something, that would be great to know. But what blew me away with this signing that we went to is, April had a whole bunch of her books up and she had them all set out and it was beautiful. But when people started coming in, there were people that had wagons that they were buying books and putting them in these wagons and they're walking around and I'm thinking, wagons, holy smokes. People were just buying like crazy. And it was almost like it was a festival of some kind. Everybody was really excited. Of course, there were some of the live models that were there that were getting a lot of attention. But one of my favorite things to do when somebody would stop by our table was to tell them which book I liked the most. And I would tell them about how I never liked romance novels until I read yours. And so those that missed that first part of the story, that's the way it was. When she first said, it's romance novels, it was like, okay, I feel you, but come on. But then when I read it, it was like, damn, April, this is good. Now I want the next one. So I get very excited. And when we were at that book signing and we had all these books out here, I recognized that there were some that I didn't even know existed. And it was like, okay, I got to have this one. I got to have this one. But it was so much fun meeting the people that already knew you and your work and them stopping. And you were like a star because they wanted to get their picture made with you. And
which was so crazy, by the way. Every time I still don't get over that. And then if people order signed paperbacks for me, I'm like, did you mean to order this? Like, I'm such a weirdo, but I'm like, I don't understand. And even one of the folks on my page, I don't know if Robin is still here, but I was at Sinful last year, and she hadn't said anything about coming. And I was at my table. Alan was over here waiting to see if he needed to ring anybody up or whatever, and just kind of letting me do my thing. And I was talking to somebody, and I was like, yap, 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 yap. And, you kind of look around the room. And as I'm talking, I'm always all over the place. I'm just terrible about that. I make a little bit of eye contact and then I roam a little bit. But I happened to glance over and I saw Robin, and I never met her in person, but we've seen each other so much online. And I mean, I feel terrible, by the way, and I went and apologized to this person, but the woman that I was talking to ceased to exist, and I like fangirled that Robin showed up. And I mean, I squealed and jumped a little and like ran around the table and went and like tackled her, because I was like, what are you doing here? So it was so cool to see her there. And she said, she was like, well, I wanted to surprise you, so I didn't say anything. And I was like, well, that fucking worked. So it was so cool. So I still get so tickled when people are like, hey, I came to see you. And I'm like, no, you didn't. So
yeah, beautiful.
Like, thanks for coming to talk to me after you saw the real people. But it's kind of surreal. And I mean, I have people all the time and the way people talk to me sometimes, and I'm like, don't be weird. Like, I'm a normal person. Like, I seriously have no business doing any of the stuff that I'm doing. So I'm just winging it out here and having a good time. So thanks for being here. But I also like, the biggest thing too, like if I don't have readers, I'm not an author per se. I'm just a writer, you know? So the readers are
Mm.
super important to me. And so I just am like floored that people are actually interested in what I'm doing and where I'm going to be and want to pick up my books. Like, and you know, with each new book that I put out, I get more and more pre-orders, and I'm like, and I mean, I take screenshots of them every day like a psychopath and send them to one of my friends, and I'm like, oh my God, look at this. Every day I send her a screenshot of my pre-orders, and it's like all of my books, like you in the dashboard, I can't see all of them in one screenshot, but I can see like the last 6, and you can see the progression, and it's like, and it started really small, and then like these little baby jumps, and then it got, all of a sudden the jumps are getting bigger and bigger between these books, and it's just wild to watch that kind of progress happen. And like, I recently hit a really big milestone. I didn't really make an announcement, but I hit 2 million page reads in Kindle.
Ooh, congratulations.
I hit 1 million page reads in December. So I've gotten another million page reads.
Wow.
December. And that's when I got this tattoo, because I had some goals set that I wanted to hit by the end of last year, and I ended up getting a trifecta in the same month. So I was like, okay, that's a sign. It's time to get my tattoo. So I did, and then the last few months have just been like, again, just this crazy jump. So it's definitely been a wild ride, especially with the new series. And like I said, I was so nervous for such a long time to write such a plot heavy book, especially a plot heavy series that goes through the series. Like, that's a lot of pressure to carry that so far through and keep it entertaining, and keep it suspenseful for that long, you know? But I'm like shocked that they care enough to stick around, and like people have pre-ordered Jackal that comes out tomorrow, by the way, because they enjoyed books 1 and 2 so much, and they have to know what's going to happen next, you know? So, it's all surreal, and super freaking fun. So, but I love it. And yeah, I love doing events too. And yeah, I'm hoping like one day he'll get busy or something and we can go back.
Then I can go again. That was so much fun. We made a weekend of it.
That pizza we had was delicious too.
I know.
Oh my God.
All right. So Julie said read, write, and promote. And then we had Wendy over here on Facebook that said it makes me happy that you write to share happiness. We've got a few more people watching. So, and like I said, you guys, you know, I'm looking down at my phone because that's where I can see it. So forgive me. But say hello and then ask some questions if you want to know. So are you guys read romance novels by any chance? So I would love to know. And then do you have the link for them? Do you have like where they can buy all 3 books together?
Julie is my PA, and she can probably pop the link into the comments for you guys, because
okay.
Like I said, I can't see the chat right now. But she can take care of that for sure. And if it's in my bio on my Facebook page and like everywhere, I have a link tree. And all of my books are there. Well, has my books, it has all of my socials, it has my website, any of the events that I'll be attending this year, it's on there. Oh, speaking of events, if anybody is in or near Ackworth, Georgia, I will be doing an event at a local bookstore that I love called The Crazy Book Lady on June 7th.
Where's that at?
In Ackworth.
In Ackworth? Okay.
The Crazy Book Lady from 12 to 4, Ackworth, Georgia. Even if you can't make it out, for me, if you're anywhere near there, the lady who owns it, Stacy, is a gem. She's super, super supportive of all authors. Like she's got nonfiction authors coming out there. Any genre of fiction authors are out there. She keeps something going on literally every day. They have open mic nights for poetry reading and stuff. They have tarot classes there. They have D&D games on the weekends you can go and participate in. Like it's like there's always something happening. So if you're bored, you can go there and find something to do. It's fantastic. But she is super supportive of indie authors, and you don't see that very often with indie bookstores, oddly enough. But she's fantastic. So I love supporting those who support us. And you can order books from her website as well. And she does have a mix of used books and new books. So, even if you can't get out to her store, you can find her online. It's just the Crazy Book Lady. And there's a cat as her profile picture, because she has 2 black cats that live there at the store, and they're adorable. We love them. But yeah, I'll be back out there on June 7th. Funny,
That's a Saturday, right?
Yes, I have to do Saturday stuff because of work, but and we have I'm going to a family reunion this weekend, which I had already scheduled my release day back in December, because with this series, I've been putting up the pre-order for the next book at the end of each book. And so I scheduled it out for May 30th. And a couple months ago, my husband's mom was like, "Hey, we are doing a family reunion in Alabama the weekend of the 30th of May. Does that work?" And he asked, and I was like, "I will make it work. It's fine." So, because, their whole life doesn't revolve around my book schedule. So
go figure.
It's going to be a little stressful, but it's going to be fine. And he's so good with this stuff, because he was like, "Babe, just because we're at the family reunion doesn't mean you can't do a live. You should do a live," because usually I go live on release day. And I was like, "No, that's not appropriate." I was like, "I'm doing something with Vicky Thursday night, and then I'll do a live Sunday when we come home, and everything's fine." I am doing a Facebook party tomorrow in my group. I will go ahead and say there's 20 authors in there, but they all write some kind of romance. So if you don't like romance, that's totally fine. Probably not the place for you.
We've got more than one Wendy on here, and Wendy Unger Shapira says that she does. And really quick, is it Rue Cantrell? Is that how you say the name? R-O-U-X? Yeah, Rue is here. Looking forward to Jackal. And Julie is your VA or whatever, right?
She's my PA. Yep.
Your PA? Okay, Julie, if you could just put the link to the book and maybe the names and not all the description afterwards, because I can put it up on the screen, but that's got way too much information for this. So if you would just put that in the chat, and then I can share it up on the screen, and it'd be easier for me to share it into my group when we get off here too.
Julie, you can share just the link to Falcon, because that's the first book of the series. And what'll happen is if you go there, you can look at the other books in the series too.
Okay.
And Julie, also, just in case anybody else who's not already in the group, pop the group into the chat, because if anybody who's not already in my group is interested in coming to the Facebook party tomorrow, that way they can get in there and won't miss anything. Like I said, we have 20 authors or something that will be participating tomorrow, and everybody will be doing games and talking about their own books. So if you do like romance books, it's a really great way to find some new books, find some new authors to follow. You might win a book. You might win a little bit of swag or something. So it's fun.
So what time is it tomorrow?
It starts
the Wendy that's responded to this, she's the one that's on the cruise. So just saying.
Well, and the thing about the Facebook parties is it's 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. because every author gets a little slot of time but most authors leave their like prizes and stuff open until the next day
Okay.
because people might be able to watch at lunchtime or something, but they might be going out to dinner later, so then they can't catch up on all of the posts in like a little semi. So that just gives everybody a little extra time, Saturday,
Okay.
maybe when you wake up with your coffee, to go through and see if you missed anything that you really want to try to participate in. There's tons of little fun games and silly stuff too. But it's a fun way just to like meet some new authors and see some new books. Not all of them will be MC books. There's a lot that will be, but then there's also like, I know one author does mostly like small town romance. My favorite rom-com authors participating just because I love her books. So I was like, please come hang out with us. And then my favorite paranormal romance author is going to be in there because, again,
Oh,
I just love her stuff. So I was like, you have to be in my party. But I mean, seriously, me, like one of my little slogans is my niche is no niche, because I write all over the place, but I read a lot of different kind of books too. So, but I love romance so much. Anything with romance in it is just, I love it so much. But I like a bunch of different genres, and like sometimes I just want a really cute little rom-com. Sometimes I need some intense action. So, but yeah, it'll be fun time. So if anybody wants to pop in, they're welcome to hop in there, and it'll be a good time.
all right. So I've got this shared up, your book club Facebook thing, got it up on the screen. And I had the chapter book up on the screen. But what I'm going to do is, if you can afterwards, if you can either you text me or have Julie text me those two things, and I will put that in the description of the live that's in the Facebook group. And then in the description from the, because this is streaming on YouTube as well. And so I hope I'm not ignoring anybody on YouTube. Thank you for being here too. Make sure to remember, like, and subscribe. But I will fill that information in that as well in the show notes, so that people will have that to refer to.
I can send it to you when we get done.
Okay.
Julie is Canadian A, so I think her text message
Hey,
wouldn't be. I always have to say Canadian A. I don't know why.
I've got some clients that are Canadian, and I can, if you can't tell it any other time, it's when they're doing something, then they say, "Hey," and it's like, okay, all right, I got you.
Every time I say something, I have a friend that's also Canadian, and so every time, and she's not a naturalized Canadian citizen. Like, she's a transplant, but she's a legal Canadian citizen. Like, she went through the whole process and she took her little test. So I'm like, you're still Canadian. So even though you're from Trinidad, you're now Canadian A. So she's
Yeah. Funny thing is, not all Canadians do that either, though, because I've had other people that were Canadian and they didn't. And I'd say, you're from Canada for real? You don't say, well, we don't all do that. Okay.
That's all right. I get a lot of people that assume that everybody from Georgia talks the same and says all the same with the quirks, and I'm like, no. The only thing I will say for sure, like, everything is Coke to me. Even Sprite is Coke, because Anna and Coca-Cola factory is here. So
not too far from our homes.
Nope. And been there a few times. Like, I haven't been as often as you would assume, having lived here my whole life. So,
well, as the person that's that way too, everything's called Coke. I'll never forget the first time I went through a fast food restaurant and it asked for a Coke, and when I got it, it was a Pepsi, and I could taste it. This isn't Coke. And they said, well, it's the same thing. No.
Great hell, not the same. Not the same.
I haven't had a soft drink in I don't know how many years, so I wouldn't know anymore. But back then it was like, I knew exactly. No, that was not it. It was too syrupy.
Water nowadays, but like if I go, like we drove my kid to Savannah recently because he had to interview at college for something. And so we stopped at McDonald's, which is not my favorite, but what do you do when you're on the road? So, and I got a Sprite because I don't drink a ton of caffeine besides my coffee. but I love like it's the nice crispy like fountain drink, you know. But I haven't had a Coke and like a real Coke in forever. My husband brought me one. It's probably been 6 months, but he went to some like little gas station and they had the glass bottle ones. And I have this nostalgia thing with the glass bottle Cokes. So he brought me a glass bottle Coke and I drank that. But and the kids were going nuts because I didn't drink it immediately. I put it in the fridge because even like with candy and stuff, I'll put it in the fridge, and when I really feel like I want something sweet, that's when I'll have it. But I don't have it just because it's there in my face. And they were like, "Are you gonna drink the Coke?" And I was like, "I will." And they were like, "When?" When I feel like it. Like, get away from me. Like, what are you doing? And they do that every time I put a candy bar in there. They're like, the candy's been in there for 3 days. And I'm like, so? And they're like, why don't you eat it? I'm like, because I'm not ready for it yet. And they're like, you're on my nerves. Eat the candy bar. And I'm like,
it's calling their name every time they open the fridge.
It's like every time they open, because I like my candy. I like my chocolate in the fridge. And so like they open the fridge and it's there in their face, you know. And yeah, and especially my daughter, she likes caffeinated drinks, and I don't buy sodas for the house or anything. So yeah, it was calling her name and she really wanted to drink it. But I was like, no, it's mine. I will have it when I'm good and ready. So I'm weird like that. But yeah, especially now that at this age, I guess, I hate to say that, but ever since I've like been in perimenopause, if I have caffeine like past 9 a.m., I'm not well for the rest of the day.
See, I can go till noon, but if I afternoon, then I can't sleep at night. It's like I'll lay down and it's like my eyelids won't even stay closed. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, same thing. And I also feel like super jittery and stuff. And I'm like, and there's so many authors that like just pound coffee all day. And I'm like, I can't do it, you guys. But I can't even really drink alcohol anymore either, which is it's not the worst thing ever, I guess, because I don't drink a lot. But it sucks when, you know, you go to your favorite Mexican restaurant and have a margarita because when in Rome, and then I can't sleep at all.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, you know, it's not really worth it. I need sleep. Or I'm like, when I'm tired, I can't write. And because my life is so busy all the time and I'm always like doing stuff with the kids and I have work and everything, I have to use whatever little free time I have to write. So if I'm tired, I can't write. And so I'm like, it's not worth it to me. Like I need to be well rested. So I will just stick with my water and occasionally have a Sprite for the crispiness, but that's about it. So,
well, Julie says we call it pop because in the winter it freezes and pops when you leave it in the car overnight.
I have a lot of friends from the US that call it pop too.
Yeah.
So, and like in my books, I say soda a lot because I don't want to get sued. So I don't.
Yeah, you don't want to call it Coke.
I do say Waffle House. I reference Waffle House, especially a lot in this series, because that's a Southern thing, and I'm a Southern girl, and you know, it's just I don't think they would care because I'm writing them in a good light. Like everybody likes Waffle House. I don't care. So that one is a little bit different. I don't think they're gonna come after. At least I hope they don't. But
knock on wood.
But there's some brands, and you can look it up too. It's enlightening. Like I don't say Band-Aid because they will sue your pants off. So
will they really?
It's Bandage now. So like you don't use Band-Aid because that is a trademarked brand name. So, but like, you know, you always like hear that expression, you know, just rip the Band-Aid off. And it just doesn't hit the same when you say rip the bandage off. But what you can do now, like seriously, I can't afford.
You know, you can just change it to rip the wax strip off. Maybe that would be more appropriate. That's much more painful.
For some of my women, like some of my women.
Yeah, that'll be in your next book.
Yeah.
Rip the wax strip off. That'll be a good one. All right. So really quick before we close up, and if nobody else has any questions, I want to make sure that say one more time about this book club thing. And I've got the link up here and I'll have it in the comments for everybody. If you want to join her. So is there anything in particular they have to do? Just go to the link and then they're in?
You just join because it's a Facebook group.
Okay.
And so the party's actually happening inside the group all day. So there's not like a separate link to go to or anything. It'll just be the authors making posts throughout the day. I'll be the last one of the day. And even though I'm traveling tomorrow, I'll be in and out trying to like comment on people's stuff and answering questions if anybody's asking, which they won't be talking to me very much because I won't be there until later anyway. But I like to participate in those and I love seeing what the other authors do. So, but you just pop into the group and watch for the posts all day pretty much. And that's it. And then
so the posts are from different authors and some special things that they're doing for people.
Yep. So they'll post some about their books. So
Okay.
you bit about what they write. A lot of them will also do an intro talking about themselves a little bit. Like I always tell everybody where I'm from, that I'm married, I have a couple kids that keep me busy. So everybody does a little intro so you can sort of get to know them. A lot of them will also like point to where you can buy their books. If they have a Facebook group their own, they, you know, if you like them, you can go to their group and hang out with them. And then everybody usually does a game. Games are fun. And then there's always a giveaway too. So each author will do a game and a giveaway and then talk about themselves and some of their books.
Okay. Well, that sounds fun.
Post all day. And that's it. So, I mean, it's pretty low key, easy peasy. You know, especially like if you're doom scrolling, why not doom scroll in my Facebook group when they're having a party? So
might as well. Well, parties are fun, right?
Yep.
All right. And so also remember everybody that she is here promoting her newest book in the series, but just in case, I want you, if you don't mind, you said just to share the first book with them and then the other ones would show up, right?
If you go to the link for that first book, that's just my Amazon page.
Okay.
So Falcon will show up because it's the first one. So it makes sense just to share the first one. That's what it looks like. And you can see the rest of the series on the same page.
Okay.
Like, it'll be at the top. You'll see the blurb for him up there too. And then if you just scroll down a little bit, it'll show you the rest of the series as well.
Okay. And you said they're on Kindle Unlimited as well, right?
Unlimited. And Jackal comes out tomorrow. That's book 3. And so once it goes live tomorrow, it'll also be on Kindle Unlimited. It's still right now for the next 3 hours or so.
All right. All right. Well, fantastic. Well, thank you for being here, April. I really appreciate it. And I hope everybody appreciates April taking the time out of her day to share with you guys, because she didn't have to come here and share. And if you would support her by going ahead and getting her book, that would be amazing too, because I want to support her as much as I can. It's amazing when you know somebody and they're doing these things and you have a personal connection with them. It's just like, you know, I love you. We've been friends for a while now. And just a quick thing. She used to be an Avon representative, and that's how I got to know her. I was driving down the interstate and I had been wanting to find some lotion or something that Avon had, and I couldn't find anybody. And so I'm driving down and all of a sudden I see this vehicle come past me, and on the back window it says Avon, and it has a phone number. So I'm driving and I'm trying to write, you know, I'm chasing the vehicle to make sure I can get the number down and everything. And then I immediately called her, and she had been somewhere quite a far away doing some kind of event. And so she said, well, you know, I don't go really far away. And I said, well, I just saw you here on 75 at 575. She said, oh, okay. So that's how we got to know each other. It was divine intervention, I believe.
It's been a long time, though.
Yes, it has. It has.
It's been a while since I've done that. So, but it was fun. It was fun while it lasted.
Yes.
But yeah, we've known each other. It's probably been 10 years, at least 10 years.
I think so.
Yeah.
Might even be more. I don't know. Time gets away, you know. It's a very elusive thing to even figure out what time it is during the day, much less how many years you've known somebody, or it is for me. But thank you.
hard for me to keep track of what day it is because I am so exhausted because the last few weeks have been crazy. Work has been nuts. My kid graduated from high school. We had a party for him. He's about to go out of the country next week. So we've been making sure that all of that's ready. You know, he's ready to go. And we also have the family reunion this weekend. I have a book release tomorrow. It's a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
I think, and we're also going to a Braves game Tuesday night, which is fun. Like that's the thing. Everything's besides work has been fun stuff and good things. You know, I'm super proud of my kid, and but yeah, like I'm so tired.
Well, at least you'll have a few days that maybe you can kind of regroup a little bit.
Yeah, I will see how. I don't know how relaxing the family reunion is going to be. Apparently, there's a lot of games and activities. So it'll be nice to go hang out with his mom and stuff for sure. So
Yeah.
And get away for a couple of days, you know, and then do it all again next week. So, but I am excited for next weekend because then I do the Crazy Book Lady. I love doing events at her shop. So
Yeah, you'll have to send me that information. I might see if I can get there. It depends on what time and what I have going on Saturday, but I would love to come and support you.
Their author there who also does romance, but she's local, so it's always cool when I can like share my space or whatever with another local author, especially if they're a romance author, just because like, you know, writing is fun and but it can be quite lonely sometimes because it's like this weird thing, like unless you've done it, you don't really understand. So it's always nice to make new author friends for sure.
Yeah, beautiful. All right. So thank you guys for being here. And thank you guys that are just watching and those who will watch the replay. You can play right along and ask April questions and then I can share them with her. She can come in and look. And it's just going to be amazing to support her in this way. So thank you guys for being here and we'll see you soon. Mwah.
Thanks for having me. Bye, you guys.